Motion that we call the meeting to order, the time being 6 o'clock. Go to roll call.
Eldon Larson, Rhonda Robertson, Andrew Bushman,
Here.
Dayton Flake,
Here.
Karsten Flake.
I'm here. Move to the Pledge of Allegiance. Do we have any lead us in the?
I can do it.
Okay.
Salute, pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Do you have any volunteers for the location? You can.
Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this opportunity we have to meet together. Thank you for this great country we live in. Thank you for thy Son, Jesus Christ. We gather and we discuss the things of this school. We ask you to please help us to keep an open mind. Help us to do the things that are right for the district and to help thy work progress. We thank you for all our many blessings. Say these things in Christ.
Motion that we adopt the agenda as presented.
I'll second.
Okay.
There were just two small items I wanted to bring to your attention, if possible, to changes.
Okay.
And so on the consent agenda, it is the donation from Junior Castillo. So one of the items comes directly from him, and the other one comes from Loves. So, if we could change that in the minutes when it's voted on. If you want to move it off the consent, that's fine, but we can leave it on there and just make a note that it Loves and him. So donations from both, but he works for Loves. That's where it came.
So when we get to the consent agenda items, we can present. I can just present it as
Loves
that
Andrew.
adoption, or
Love
from
you.
yeah. Okay.
And the other one was 5A. Adrian Bushman is listed as an appointment, and actually it would be a ratification. And that's all.
Okay.
I did not get a second on that.
Dayton did.
Dayton's on the ball today.
Okay. So call for the vote. Myself, yes. Dayton, Andrew, Rhonda.
Where are we at?
The minutes for the last meeting.
We're right there. You just did the
Adoption of the agenda. Do you want to do the?
okay. I move that we approve the minutes of the September 13th regular board meeting as presented.
I'll second it.
Okay, call for the vote. Andrew?
Yes.
Rhonda?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Dayton?
Yes.
Okay. Do we have any call to the public?
We can do superintendent's report first.
Oh, sorry. I skipped. Superintendent's report.
Sure, no problem. So you have written report from me. We have different things going on at this time that I'd be more than willing to talk about. Some may be more of interest to you than others, but our fall sports are coming to a close, and the winter sports will be starting soon. So, and those seem to be going well. We have good attendance at the games and things of that nature. This week we have parent-teacher conferences at both schools. That's Thursday, starting at 1 at both schools. So the teachers and principals are getting prepared for that. Actually, I think it's been about a year, but the elementary crosswalk is scheduled to get painted and redone over here between the church and the elementary school on Monday. So we've confirmed that. we had the walkthrough on the elementary roof to do like a punch list. There's about 8 items left, but other than that, they are pretty much done. So,
I have to tell you, it's really nice to drive past and not have all that out there.
oh, good. Yeah, like the dumpster and all that stuff. Yeah.
And people, and
I'm so glad we got that done prior to the rain too, because we had some bad leaks in the elementary and some of those classrooms. So, but it looks good. I've heard nothing but good things there. We're still waiting on the high school. We have a few things we got to work through there. An important thing I think for you to bring your attention to is that minimum wage. They have it set for I guess for everybody, not just schools, for next year. That's $13.85, so that's going up. That will affect us a little bit. Making preparations for that. There was a lockdown that we had on September 29th. I could talk about that. I think I communicated with you guys either an email or a text, and actually Mrs. Strong also, I know she reached out to you in the middle of all that when I was going back and forth. We just wanted to take some precautions, even though nothing directly was done here. When we didn't have all the answers that we had when we had the questions, we decided just to do a lockout, which it's still pretty much normal operations. We just close our one entrance and the perimeter, like no outside recess. And it was less than 30 minutes. So it's good practice for us. But actually, our elementary had a practice right on that drill that morning, didn't you, Mr. Mosier?
Yeah.
Oh, it was you. Okay, I'm sorry. So yeah, they had a drill that morning. But yeah. So I don't know if you have any questions on that. I can do my best to answer it. But some prank calls is what it was, and it wasn't in our community, but when we didn't get answers that we were hoping to get, we just decided to take some precautions. Halloween Carnival's coming up. The 31st, it's a Monday. That would be from 6 to 8. Some details are still being worked out, but it looks like they're going to do the wristbands instead of selling tickets, just to help with the record keeping, the financial part of that. We're trying that pool cover out for the rest of this month while the pool is still being used for morning swim. So let's see, the one thing I wanted to bring up here was an attendance program that we're going to try and implement. It's a combination with the Rural Schools Association and Harvard University, and it's designed for rural schools, and it's automated messaging that would tie into our system. And when students are at a high risk of losing credit or even getting expelled, you can get expelled for poor attendance. It sends some messages and gives information about why attendance is important and things like that. It's at no cost to us, and it's called Lift Up. So we're going to try that as an intervention and see how it does. I've identified about 20 students throughout our district with some serious attendance issues so far this year. We're at the end of the first quarter. That was last Friday. So that's just a little bit into the year here. It's bad to see that many absences from some students. The Chromebook program I cite on my report there, just so you know, that's the one that they worked on, Jason and Mr. Mills, through a grant. And it sends Chromebooks home to every family of every student if they would like them. And also hotspots, which is internet access. So we have 81 Chromebooks at the high school and junior high given out, 37 at the elementary, and the hotspots, 17 at the high school and 10 at the elementary. So I thought you might be interested in those numbers. Not real high, but it tells us something, maybe about internet access among our students. Now when we sit in IEPs or child study team meetings, if somebody, I mean, we'll be surprised to hear, well, we can't do anything at home because we don't have computers or internet access. We have something to talk to them about, you know, and maybe suggest. But everyone knows about this program as far as I know, so I don't think that will come up. So maybe a lot of our people have access. Anyway, that's what I think it tells us. Other than that, I'll answer any questions that you might have on my report or current events.
I have a question, but it's directed to the principals in the Chromebooks and the hotspots. Are we seeing that it's helping with some grades with kids, families?
I couldn't speak to that one, honestly. I haven't really compared this year to last year's well enough to answer that. I do know there's people that have been happy with it and it's made their life easier, but I couldn't tell you grade wise this year to last year. Sorry.
Okay.
They're being used. There's some that wouldn't have it at all.
Well, that's good that they're being used. That's a good thing.
We're doing 4th grade and 5th grade. We will look at 3rd grade probably January. Maybe.
I think it might be a good idea for our technology department to send out a survey to these folks. We know who they are. We can see how they like it and just how much they're using it. I mean, we're not going to take them away if they're not using it a lot. We just want to.
Can we post something maybe at the high school and the elementary, or let people know that we do have that? I'm guessing we have more available if there is a need. Maybe put that out there. Let teachers know that if there's kids that are struggling, to talk to their parents about it.
I know my 2 kids that are in the junior high both came home talking about it, you know, if we needed them. I told them I was too proud for it, but no.
Or maybe they don't need them. You know, we don't want it to be a toy at home. You know.
But I think, well, I guess what I'm getting at is I think that the word got out pretty good to anyone that's paying attention.
Well, that's good. There's, if I remember correctly, the same, I don't know what they're called, are at home as well as at the school. They can't get on
Filters.
internet, the filters.
It all runs through our school filter.
Okay. But if they're at home using their own Wi-Fi, it still won't.
Doesn't matter. The Chromebook will only go out through our
Okay.
filters.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I would hate for parents to have one more issue than they already do that the school is providing their kids. Okay.
Good question. Thank you.
And God forbid parents should be parents.
No way.
Now, on this swimming pool, seeing how it was brought up in here,
Yes.
I'm understanding, told, not that I have personal experience, but that they're having a hard time getting the lifeguards to show up to keep the pool open for the people. And I've had some people say they think it's wrong, and I said, well, then write a letter and do something about it.
Yeah. We have had, you know, anytime you're counting on teenagers to to do something, sometimes it falls through. So we've had some instances where they haven't been there, they haven't opened up at least on time. And I actually don't have a number of days. I don't have a report on that, but yeah, it has been an issue.
I also heard about very bad attitude from those kids.
Kids.
Yeah, I had some people saying that that's the way it's going to be, then they're not going to do it anymore, and that's going to hurt the program a little bit.
You know,
I don't know how much, $10 maybe, but
When I use the pool, there's not a problem.
you use it still, yeah. You know, we got to remember who the customers are, definitely, and treat people right. That's a lifelong skill, being professional in our jobs. So,
Well, I was given a specific instance of a young man that showed up late and then had a very cavalier attitude. Notice how I used a big word. And that he just he wasn't doing his job. And the adult was very upset about it. And if half of what the adult told me was true, do not blame her for being upset, because it's like you say, you know, you treat people, instead of him being apologetic for being late and these people were sitting there waiting, he was very, oh, well.
Yeah, I believe it. It could happen, especially with teenagers, no doubt. We need to correct it. And like, for example, I don't know who we're talking about, but if that young person's parents knew, they would probably be like, hey, that's not how you should act, you know. But any coaches, they probably know the same thing, or teachers be like, it's almost how they sometimes respond when they look like they don't care, as a coping mechanism. But we do want it. We want them to know it's a big deal. It's a responsibility. They could lose this job, and that would lose them a reference. But teenagers, that's pretty common that they have a cavalier attitude.
So basically what you're suggesting is that we pass on to the people who've talked to us that they need to go through the chain of command and report it. Because it can't be corrected if the supervisor doesn't know.
That's right. And then the pool manager can deal with it however he thinks it's appropriate, maybe calling the parent or talking to the kid, things like that. So.
Also, if I could add, we have kind of a generic email address, districtoffice@jcusd.org, and we put that out on our website. And we get often
Suggest they do that.
and then, because if they don't know who to talk to,
Right.
they don't know if it'll get to them or not, send it there, and we check that every day, and then we forward emails to whoever it's relevant for. Yeah.
We could put a sign up at the pool maybe that says that.
Yeah.
Complaints.
And you know, the sad thing is people don't, I'm the world's worst. I made a phone call today to see if some paperwork was ready. And the young lady came back on the line. She said, we sent you 2 emails today. And I said, you know what? When I retired, I quit looking at emails. I'll go in there right now and get it all taken care of. But that was my mistake. You know, I gave them my email. I better be checking it. So my point is, and if I don't know there's something coming in my email, I'm not going to check it. And if you don't need something, it doesn't click. But people do need to get better about going through the chain of command.
And, you know, and also that, you know, the email address, the people who see it basically are Julie, myself, and Brian, other than those that we forward them to.
Right.
And so if they want to be anonymous, just say so in there, and, you know, and we'll deal with it appropriately. And that's not going to be anonymous from the 3 of us, but it would be, you know, beyond.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's not necessarily that we don't have standards, but that's a responsibility skill we're trying to teach kids, you know, how to. That's been a challenge at the pool. I think it hasn't just started. I think it's been for years, you know, and ongoing issue. But we can address it definitely. Does the pool manager know about that specifically?
I don't know. I'll talk with the person that I talked to and mention that would be a good idea, and that they have the option of. And who is the pool manager?
Robert Larson.
And then there's they can just go on our website and get that email address.
Mm-hmm. And we'll post it out there as well. It's a generic email. Steve, what is it? Joseph City at JCUSD?
It's districtoffice@jcusd.org.
Okay. I will.
I'll put a little post out.
What, babe?
I'll post that. District office
The sign.
email.
Sign.
Yeah.
I'm just saying I'll
To
tell
post
that
it on
person.
Facebook, or,
Oh, no, I'll put it at the pool.
I don't think, 'cause some of the people I talk to, they don't do Facebook.
Yeah. It's already on our website.
We want to have good PR with the public, parents, and we want to teach our kids to be responsible. You know, those are our standards. So we have to promote that. I'm not saying we're gonna be perfect with all these, because they are kids, and they see things differently than us sometimes, as you all know. But it doesn't mean we're not gonna try.
We can't give up on them.
No.
I agree that they are kids, and I do think that we need to be understanding of that. But these are also kids that signed up to work,
Yep.
which makes them responsible for their work.
And held to a higher.
Whether they're an adult or whether they're a kid, they need to act like the person that they're representing, which is a working person, which is an adult.
No doubt, no doubt.
I don't think they just get off the hook because they're a kid.
I just don't want to administer discipline here when I don't know anything.
Well, and that is,
But yeah, I agree. So, I'm with you.
and the kids that work in the concession stand, if you're signing up to work, you're a worker, you have a capacity there, you're no longer a kid.
Explain that to their parents too.
It's a teaching thing, you know, we use it as a teaching experience for kids, and we can terminate them, they can lose their job, you know, no doubt.
And we're giving them experiences that they can't get other places. They need to be held to that. Otherwise, we're letting them down too.
I agree.
I mean, you can't get a job at Walmart or wherever else and not show up 2 or 3 days and keep your job.
Well,
Until they start universal income.
it's getting harder and harder to ask for.
Thank you, Mr. Bills. Now call to the public, I think. I motion that we approve the consent agenda items with, including Loves as the gift of and donator for 4C, and also, oh, that's all, it's just 4 right now. All through all of 4.
I'll second.
And do we have any discussion? I have a question about the volleyball daddy-daughter dance. What is that?
So it's gonna be the end of this month. The volleyball team is just gonna invite fathers, doesn't matter what age of the daughters, to come, and they'll do a little dance for dads and their daughters. I thought it'd be something fun for them to do. So you don't have to be in high school, from what I understand. It could be
So
an
it's not
elementary
just-
daughter and.
Okay, so it's not just the volleyball players and their dads. It's-
Correct, yeah.
Okay,
It's for the community, yeah.
okay.
Couldn't make much money that way.
That's what I was thinking. I was like,
Do they know where it's gonna be yet, Mr. Miller?
She
Probably
talked with me about it. I can't remember what we decided, I'm sorry, but she did talk with me about it, I don't remember. It's gonna be at the high school somewhere. And he's like, well, we talked about the auditorium, we talked about up top, by the bleacher area. I think it might be up there by the bleacher area, but don't quote me on that, I would need to look at the paperwork and.
I'm
And-
scanning it right now.
and thank you to Loves and Junior. That's,
And who did you talk to about it, the sponsor or the kid?
Sponsor,
Oh.
about the dance.
I don't plan on going, but it might be a good idea for the girls, because they're the ones doing it, right?
Mm-hmm.
They might remember their dads aren't into the same music they are. Just a thought.
We'll probably
If they can
dance.
drag their dads there, I guess they'll just deal with the music.
any other discussion, questions? Okay, call for the vote. Rhonda?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Dayton? Yes. Andrew?
Yes.
I motion that we approve the personnel ratifications, assignments, and renewals as presented in 5A. Oh, there's also a resignation, I think.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay,
On A?
Yeah, there's one in the middle there.
Yeah, resignation. Caleb Layton, okay.
Okay.
And it is attached. I don't compute it.
And that's just for that sport?
Yeah.
Anybody second that? Dayton?
Any discussion?
So if Caleb is resigning, do we have someone else lined up?
We're advertising.
Not yet. We're looking.
Are
So
we,
there you go again.
are we looking at, ratifying them if we find someone?
Yes,
Okay.
but it would have to be, basketball season starts October 31st.
If I remember correctly, we can only ratify people that are already in the district, not somebody outside. Is that not the case?
No.
Okay,
Now we would require fingerprint clearance before they start, and whoever it is wouldn't be left alone or set in charge of any students until their hire is final,
okay. But they could start going to practice and,
and what it's all about. Yeah,
okay.
I would think it likely could be a teacher, but I don't know.
So call for the vote. Myself, yes. Dayton? Yes. Andrew?
Yes.
Rhonda?
Yes.
I motion that we approve the action regarding the superintendent's performance pay.
I second it.
Have any discussion?
You may have questions. It's something that we do twice a year, one of the months. It's separate than the regular evaluation. That happens in December. And this can be set to the document that's attached that they call it the superintendent evaluation rating scale, even though it's separate from the evaluation. So it can be a little confusing, but those list some standards, or the governing board could set other specific things if you wanted to these funds. I think I attached my goals, maybe it was last month, but the actual rating scale is on here as well. So it's not additional. It's part of it. It's taken off of my contracted amount until it's approved. That's it.
Do we have any other discussion? Dayton?
Yes.
Andrew?
Yes.
Rhonda?
Yeah.
Myself, yes. I motion that we approve the Joseph City Schools Annual Financial Report for 21-22.
I'll second it.
Do we have any questions or comments?
Last month, this was, we approved, what was
The audit.
the audit that precedes this. So, or accepted it. I don't know if you approved the audit, but just that you're acknowledging that you've received it, seen it. Yeah, if there's highlights on that item when you click on it, that we can see the percentage of total expenditures that goes into the different categories like instruction, administration, facilities, and personnel.
Are we ready to vote?
Mm-hmm.
Andrew?
Yes.
Rhonda?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Dayton?
Yes.
I motion that we approve the action of regarding the volleyball line judge pay from 15 to 20 per game.
I'll second it.
Is there anything that we need to know, Mr. Phillips, other than?
We're just trying to keep it competitive and be able to recruit qualified and experienced line judges and refs.
Got to pay their fuel somehow.
Okay, call for the vote, Rhonda?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Dayton?
Yes.
Andrew? I motion that we approve the action regarding Joseph City Unified School District Transportation Certification Program.
Second.
So what this is would be certification that we're asking anyone who's not bus driver, CDL certified to get this certification. And it involves hands-on training, a short class, proof of a driver's license, and that they haven't had their insurance revoked or suspended, their driver's license suspended, these type of things.
So is it a, existing program, or is it just something y'all are you're looking at, we need this, this, and this, and that's what we're gonna require, is something y'all have kind of made up that you feel the need for?
Yep.
Okay.
And I'll take the blame on this one.
I don't
Mostly me.
that's
But but part of it, the biggest part of it, came directly from the school insurance. So I did make just a few modifications. That the school insurance, they do it for what they call 15 passenger buses or 15 passenger vans. Okay, and however, there's a question if these can be covered by the school insurance, even if you have this program in. Some of these vans that seat up to 15 passengers are built different than the small buses. For example, we have a short bus with a wider chassis, and it's built so it's not as risky to tip over. However, we have a van that's a 12 passenger, or I'm sorry, 10 passenger. What fits in that category that the trust is concerned about, and
The trust or the insurance?
that's same.
Oh, okay.
That's,
Okay, so in doing this, what is your hopes that showing that we're proactive and that they'll go ahead and accept it?
yeah, that
Well, I personally think it's a good idea no matter what, but if we can't insure them, that stops it right there. If they're not, I don't mean don't do the program, I mean do it, but whatever limitations the insurance is, that's where the limitations are. Because we sure don't want to authorize somebody that's not insured.
And there's some pretty weird gray area in that whole passenger.
And it sounds like to me that they're being very proactive to take care of it.
I don't know if there's a good answer to any of it.
And it may be that we may need to look at getting rid of any vehicles that are in that gray area and get ones that are black and white for that reason.
That's right, and we talked about that, like the direction we want to go. So the only one that we have, it's known as the Sprinter. That's what a lot of the coaches call it, and it may not last much longer from what we talked about. It's hard to service and all these things, so we may not replace that. Now we could get a minivan; it's not as risky. You know, if the district decides to do that in the future, go smaller, that's fine. But if you get in that range between 10 to 15, it's got to be built like a bus, or you're in that gray area. So
Well, I would like to see it brought back to us in a motion that if that's the case, that we do. I mean, if it's that hard to take care of and keep serviced and so forth, we might as well get rid of it while it's still running well. You know, not wait till it's not running. You see what I'm saying?
yeah, that's a good point too, and we've had discussions about that, and we actually. So I don't know if Steve can remember some of this, but we tried to get the value on this it was either a year or two ago to get rid of it because it had a higher resale. At least we thought it did, the Sprinter. And when we found out, I don't know if anybody remember that. We did. I know that I did, but it wasn't. We just couldn't get very much out of it, so we decided to keep it.
But if it's a liability,
Yeah.
we need
It
to
is
get rid of
covered
it.
if you have a board approved program. It is covered.
And that's what we're giving you now.
Yes, that's what
Okay.
we're hearing now. However, I think maybe we do away with it eventually, if not.
I think
They use
sooner
it a
than
lot.
later's better.
Yeah, the challenge is we don't have anything to replace it. We use it a lot for sports.
Does anybody know what the pupil number is before a pass is required?
15, I think.
Is it 15?
Counting the driver, 15.
So
Like the short bus we have, if you look at them side by side, you can tell they're built different, wider wheelbase and stuff. So it seats 13,
12,
12,
counting driver.
12 counting driver. They're almost the same size with seating and stuff. Very similar, but that one, it's built different. It's built like a bus, the van.
But there must be a reason why they frown on it.
Yeah,
I'm sure the.
they don't frown on the short bus, but the
No, the other.
Sprinter, yeah,
a lot of
they
those
tip.
Sprinter vans and stuff like that, and those 15-packers are actually more intended to be a cargo style thing, not so much a passenger
People.
setup. And so that's the whole.
So my point is, let's quit pushing our luck.
And stop using it altogether.
Well, I mean, it's not something you can do tomorrow, but let's get moving towards it.
Okay.
It's obviously been an issue for a while. Am I the only one thinking that way?
But we haven't had an accident or anything with it.
So
No.
far,
Well, we're gonna make sure everyone's certified.
So if, this will make us in compliance.
Yes.
What happens if a coach, and see, now, what happens if a coach says, I'm not gonna go take a class, this is a bunch of hooey? Do they lose their,
I don't want that responsibility. I have enough responsibility, and I do not blame the coaches a bit for that.
Yeah.
see, I personally have a hard time saying, go coach a game all day, go
You
do
drive
all
'em.
this, now drive them home. To me, it's like, you're asking too much for a coach, and now we're like, once you get the certification, are they gonna be a little more strong armed and say, no, you can do it, get after it? They need to have a little better.
Yeah.
I mean, because you're taking people's kids, and no matter what happens, if something dies, there is no amount of BS we could throw out here to make anybody feel better.
100%. And so we have talked about that, and that's a great question. So that is not the intent of this. So what's happening to us right now is if at all possible, we want certified drivers driving our bus certified drivers, even if it's a van, but we're short drivers.
So does the insurance not frown on it if it's got a bus driver? Is that that's what
No,
this
they don't-
sounds
yeah.
like? Or is it just the vehicle they're
They
frowning
don't,
on?
yeah, these vans are more likely to tip. They have
Okay.
more claims against these vans.
Okay, then that in itself tells me that
Yeah.
it's unsafe.
So yeah, I'm with you on that. This is a little different, like requiring coaches to do, we've never like required it. Occasionally we've asked. It's not the best case scenario. We want separate drivers. So it's not a money issue at all. It's an availability of drivers. So if we got in a situation where a coach said, we would address it, we try and work it out. We might be able to find other employees that would be willing to drive. If
And that's the other thing. Are they getting paid to drive and to coach?
that's not the plan.
No, I'm asking.
Yeah.
Do they get paid for both?
If they're driving if they're driving a bus, I think that's different. But if they're driving the van, no, we haven't been paying them, and I wasn't planning on it.
Is there another coach with them, or is the coach the driver and making sure everybody is doing what they're supposed to?
Yep,
No,
probably depends on the application.
And the coach is the driver and is making sure everybody does what they're supposed to.
Well, I can, with all clear conscience ask you this, because I've known you your whole life and you've been a coach. Do you feel comfortable taking that on?
For the typical trip, yeah. For a typical trip, I mean, I'm not gonna
By
do it
typical, what distance are we talking?
3 hours or less. I'm not gonna drive it to Fredonia, obviously, but yeah. In fact, in basketball, we do that a lot, because the two teams, boys and girls, travel together, but it doesn't fit everybody. And so I will take the varsity over later in the sprinter. And then it's really not that long of a day for me because you know, say it's a 2 hour trip, 2 hours back, that's 4 hours, and the game that is about 2 hours, so it's really only 6 hours. It's not like crazy. If I was to go, you know, with the rest
Oh,
of
I
the
would
team in
just-
the morning.
I
But,
would just ask that all of you, the powers that be, the administrators, keep those thoughts in mind. Because like I said, you know, both of you have been there, done that. And I imagine you have as well. And let's just keep that in mind when we're asking somebody else to do it as well.
we're pretty careful about how long they're gonna be gone and how far the trip is when the coaches drive.
Okay,
But if all possible, like when Eric and I have talked, or Danny, when he starts to Danny, we want certified people driving. Just in some cases, like if the varsity wants to leave later, or maybe there's not enough room on the bus, and instead of taking 2 buses, the coach wants to drive. We're open to that, but as far as requiring coaches, when we get to that point, like,
so is there another vehicle besides this particular make and model that we could replace it with without it being that bus?
well, it's almost the same size. It's close. They're parked right next to each other at the high school. Those short buses are the answer.
You don't have to have a CDL to drive those short buses as long as they're 15 or less. And that's what a lot of teams are doing now, honestly. Like our volleyball tournament, I don't know if you drove around at all, but at least 60-70% of them were driving those short buses. So
You need a board-approved training program, though, which is what this is. They
Is
have
it usually about 12, or the suburban work at times?
some schools are doing suburban.
yeah, we've
Because the big buses it's just not gonna be as comfortable to drive as something like the suburban.
But you don't want them falling asleep either.
The challenge is, a typical team usually has 12 kids. And so when you get a 15-passenger little shuttle bus, you can take your whole team with one vehicle. So, like a suburban, you're gonna drive 2.
And those white buses or short buses, whatever we call them, they can have reclining seats and things because they're not route buses. So you can when you purchase them, you can make them a little more comfortable, I think.
I'm just talking about comfortable to drive, not,
Oh yeah.
you know.
I've driven ours, and it's not, I mean, it's bigger than a normal vehicle, but it's not anything that I was uncomfortable with. Maybe some might be.
So this isn't just for the 15 I would like anybody who's gonna transport kids to get the training that, hey, you're supposed to make sure that everyone wears a seatbelt, you know, just the basic things. Those are.
Did you bring the kids to the fair in a bus, or did you drive them?
We took a bus because we partnered with the photography program. We all packed.
So you had too many?
They had
But I would like, you know, there's a lot of times she's gonna be wanting to take kids if I'm not.
I have taken kids already.
Yeah, so, I mean, I see a need for it. It's not just sport,
Okay.
you know, and I see a need for it. I just don't want us putting our necks out there and putting the kids in danger.
But I will say, I don't mind the white shuttle bus either. I am used to driving larger trucks and equipment and stuff, but it handles just fine. You gotta make sure the seats and the mirrors are adjusted before you take off, because if somebody drove before you, that's taller, that's a problem.
That never happens to you.
That happens to any car.
This is one of the things that was talked also about that law conference, is some things coming this direction, and it sounds like we are ahead of it, and that's probably and that's, like she's saying, that's a good thing, to be proactive, so.
Now that you say that, it reminded me, you have to have the extending stop arm and at the extra lights and all this stuff on your vans now. They're coming out with requirements, and DPS is writing that stuff up right now. So vans, short buses, everything. So the vans we have to, Deo's working on getting them all set up with that extra stuff. Lights.
Is that just over 10 passenger, or is it even the?
They said the vans, these vans and short buses,
right.
both.
Your little cars that you drive.
Yeah, I don't think we can.
Anything that the school.
Deo's gonna have to have for the mail car.
So 10 and over, I think.
I say go for it, try it out. It's gonna be gonna have to change as time goes on. Watch the stupid laws, because they change about as much time as,
So call for the vote. Are we ready? Andrew? Rhonda?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Dayton?
Funny how quick the rotation goes with just one last person.
Are we ready to, is this the month we need to approve those changes? And we looked at it last month, is that correct? Yes. Okay, I motion that we approve the changes to the governing board policies.
I'll second it.
Do we need to, we discussed it last time, do we have
There are
any
several.
questions or anything?
Mr. Bushman might have some, he wasn't here, but, I don't know. There's several policies, a lot of them.
Do you have any, Andrew?
yeah, I have more than we have time for, so go ahead and vote.
Okay, call for the vote. Rhonda?
Yes.
Yes. Dayton?
Yes.
Andrew?
No,
And then what do we need to do with this 6A?
It's just for your information at this time. So, policy advisory 737, it just clears up some of the things with the, not requiring an immunization for COVID.
Okay. And we'll approve that next month, right? Okay. And then what about 6B? What?
That was kind of like a standing item. Mr. Bushman and I think another board member had asked for that a couple months ago.
No, not this. This is, 6B is, something required by law that we have to do every year.
Okay.
So I'm not seeing what, are we just having a public comment thing?
Yeah, there's no action to take. It's just,
Okay.
it's just public, opportunity for the public to comment.
How we spend our override money.
Okay.
Right, and there's some information in there that it's pretty much, we provide that every year, and we're required to do that, and so then you can call on if there's anyone in the public who would like to comment.
Are we gonna do, because I thought we did that at the beginning of,
That was a different public hearing. That was for the budget
okay.
for the coming year. This is for the prior year, for the override.
So we need to have it as an agenda item and it needs to, have opportunity for public comment
And that's also gonna be at the November one?
right now.
No, what we'd like you to do is open it up for public.
Okay.
Open it up,
Sorry.
what?
Open this up for public
I
comment.
thought we always did that at the beginning of the meeting, though. That's what I was saying.
It's not
That's a
a
budget.
public hearing.
Okay.
It's not a public hearing, it's just an opportunity for the
Okay,
public.
just open it up.
So does anybody have anything to say about that?
I can start off if, people want to kind of digest some of this, but the override is, voted on by people that live within our district and, going a cycle. And this override has been mostly on, salaries. It's about, for that year that we're talking about, $643,000 is what it amounted to. 15%. That's what it is.
If there's no other comments, then you can just move on.
Okay.
so it says report. Do we have a report that could go like on the website if anybody has any information?
We can, it's attached, to your back.
And so that's,
Yeah, it's not a specific format report. They just said to report on. The law says to report on it. And so,
well, I think if we put it on the website somewhere, anybody has any questions, they can look it up, and nothing else, it gives us a cheap, easy cop out to say, well, look it up. Then let's cost and discuss.
Yeah, if we could get that posted, or at least a link to it. Sure.
Then we know we're covered. Also, as far as legal stuff.
Then the next item, we need to set when we're going to administer the oath of office to Dayton and Kat Hansen. Should we do that? I thought we typically did that at the
At
December
the,
board
I thought we
meeting.
did it at the January.
This January 2023.
Yeah, that's when they start.
It happened at the beginning of the meeting.
Well, we could, in the email I got from the county, it said prior to the January meeting. I didn't specify and said, well, can we do it, well, right prior to the January meeting? The way the email was worded was, and I thought it wouldn't hurt if we invited the, Kat Hansen to the December meeting and let her kind of observe what's going on and do that before the, and that's what I ran by Eldon, and he was fine with
I
that.
think that's a good idea.
So you could do it at the end of the December meeting or beginning of the January is what I would say.
Yeah, as long as she understands that she's not a voting member of the board until the
Until the
January.
January meeting, because we don't want to kick Rhonda out.
I was gonna say, bring her on in, I can stay home.
No, I know you.
Aren't you gonna be the one that reads it and does all the swearing in like you did
Nah,
last
why would I have to do that? I'm out of here.
time? Last motion of
You're good at the swearing
business.
part.
I'll nominate
Mass
you.
act of defiance?
I'll nominate you. Okay, so at the end of the December meeting,
That sounds great to me.
Okay.
I'll let Kat know.
do we have any requests for future agenda items? I don't remember any that we talked about.
Navit will be here to report next month. They told me they'd like to do it at the beginning of our meeting. Matt,
For
what?
November's. Okay. The upcoming meeting, there's a few listed on here, but our next board meeting is November 8th, 6 p.m. I motion that we adjourn the meeting to time 6:52.
Second.
Okay, call for the vote. Dayton?
Yes.
Andrew?
Yes.
Rhonda?
Yes.
Myself, yes.
Julie, before you take off, I need to ask you some questions about the,
I have a question for the board.
Could we?
Do we-
what's that term called?
That was
you're acknowledging that you've received it, seen it. So